Okay, I'm back for chapter 10, and I wanted to let this run through the phone. So how it was sideways. So I wanted to let it run through that way for anybody who's wanting to capture this somehow. So it was chapter 9, 20, and onward. So they can just freeze it, read it, and then, keep playing it till you got everything in. I mean, this might be the only Bible some people have, You never know. So I think of that stuff. Well, anyway, here, that's the rest of 9. And then I'm going to start on 10. And I'll do at least all of 10 today. Okay. Put the light here more. It's small, but yeah, it's okay. It shows. Okay. So 10 is a whole new beginning in this. Something else happens as this unfolds here. It's like turning over a new petal. So, verse 1, there was a certain man in Caesarea named Cornelius, a centurion of what was called the Italian regiment, a devout man and one who feared God with all his household, who gave alms generously to the people and prayed to God always. About the 9th hour of the day, he saw clearly in a vision an angel of God coming in and saying to him, Cornelius. And when he observed him, he was afraid and said, What is it, Lord? So he said to him, Your prayers and your alms have come up for a memorial before God. Now send men to Joppa and send for Simon, whose surname is Peter. He is lodging with Simon, a tanner, whose house is by the sea. He will tell you what you must do. And when the angel who spoke to him had departed, Cornelius called 2 of his household servants and a devout soldier from among those who waited on him continually. So when he had explained all these things to them, he sent them to Joppa. Okay, so I'll just go over that part. There's several things here to notice. I mean, for one thing, this Cornelius, he wasn't, a Jew by heritage. He was, I guess, a Roman, but he was definitely a Gentile. So he was also in something called the Italian regiment, which was some kind of soldier delegation. I am not sure on the details of that. I didn't look into that, but anyway, that is what I've heard about it. So he was in that, and so we noticed several things about him. One, he was a devout man, so he knew something about God. Okay, so it says, and one who feared God. So he was a devout man who feared God. So he was probably some kind of what they called a proselyte back then, like a convert to the Jews at the time, Anyway, and it says he feared God with all his household. So the whole household was of that persuasion. And he gave alms generously to the people. So that's, giving charity to the poor. So that was going on. And he prayed to God always. So he prayed to God. Okay, so, he did his best. I mean, that's what he knew. And then when he was, I guess he was praying, but about the 9th hour of the day, I guess they prayed at that time, he saw a vision where an angel of God appeared to him and told him, you know, basically, here's all this stuff it says. Your prayers and your alms have come up for a memorial before God. And then he tells him all these instructions, go get Peter and, all that. He'll tell you what you must do. So here we see in all of this, you know how people will always ask, oh, well, what about that guy, way out in the jungle who never heard the gospel, and oh, well, what's going to be his fate, and this and that, and they go on about him. And now, here's a perfect answer to that. I mean, this guy hadn't heard the gospel yet, but, he knew something. I mean, he was living in, Caesarea, so he was in Israel, but he hadn't heard the gospel yet. So, he was seeking, he was trying to get as close to God as he could. That's all he knew, and that's what he was doing, what he could with. Now, God notices that, okay? He's going to notice this guy, where if he's in the middle of the jungle or if he's living in Israel, okay, wherever he is, God is going to notice that, and he's going to do something about it. He's either going to send a missionary there or, somehow get this guy the gospel. So that's how it works. And there are people who, let's say there's no missionary who makes it there with the gospel. Well, guess what? I've heard stories about people in very restricted countries, and they really are seeking, and they really don't have access to much. And they pray and they ask God and they seek, and God gives them a dream. And they're having dreams and visions about Jesus. So God can reach a person, okay? The preferred method is missionaries, but it doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes it happens in another way, like a dream or a vision. And that person who's seeking will find. And, there's this other sort of attack on the whole idea of people seeking God or being able to seek God. Yes, we are able to seek God. Otherwise, Jesus wouldn't have told us to seek God. He said, seek and you will find. And there are Bible verses in the Old Testament and in the New Testament that instruct us to seek. He wouldn't tell us that if we were not capable of doing that. So that's the thing. And if you're seeking, he'll notice it and he'll do something about it. There's a Bible verse in James that says, if you draw near to God, he'll draw near to you. So it's just one of those principles. That's how it works. And that's what this guy was doing. So, those who are seeking him, he'll get to them and they'll find him, just like it says, seek and you will find. That's what Jesus said. And it's true. And it happened in my life as well. It happens in many people's lives. So that's how it works. The people who couldn't care less, well, maybe they won't ever hear the gospel, but maybe they'll be more accountable if they would hear it. So there are different reasons why it works out a certain way. But, if a person's seeking, God will get to them. So that's it. And then another thing we see here is we see that he was capable, of these things. Yes, we're born with a sin nature, but he was doing something. He was seeking. He was capable of believing all those things. So, he made the first move and God is responding, and that's how that works. It's not that people are totally incapable of making a step towards God until he does something. That's not how it works, and this is a perfect proof that refutes that whole idea that man is just so, incapable of anything. And that's one of the heresies floating around now, which the Bible refutes over and over. But this shows it again right here. And anyway, and so that's a lot of what we see right there. That's just in there ready to unpack. I mean, you have to notice that. But, I know I've been to so many churches and I see this all the time. I mean, they'll read the same Bible I'm reading, but they highlight what they want to highlight and they sweep under the rug what they want to sweep under the rug, and they downplay what they want to downplay. And I've seen them just skip right over some really important principles and highlight things that really are not that important, or they'll twist them and then they'll highlight them. So you just have to be careful what you hear. So many people elevate these men to some platform, some pedestal of, oh my goodness, all the knowledge and all the authority and all this position they have and this and that. And it's nothing. I mean, they don't even know, or they're not telling you right, or they're not reading it right or something. I mean, I've seen them make so many mistakes. It's just not even funny. And I would notice it. There were so many things I noticed, like, okay, that's because it was talking about somebody, like there's similar names sometimes in the Old Testament, and it's like it was a different guy and they thought it was the same guy. I mean, it's just silly mistakes like that. But, so it's just, there's so much room for error, was basically the point I'm making. So just so important to go through the Bible, do this on your own, read through it, pray about it, let the Holy Spirit guide you, and you'd be surprised what comes out of that. I mean, it's just right. All this just falls out. But okay, so now moving on with verse 9. The next day, as they went on their journey and drew near the city, Peter went up on the housetop to pray about the 6th hour. Then he became very hungry and wanted to eat. But while they made ready, he fell into a trance and saw heaven opened and an object like a great sheet bound at the 4 corners descending to him and let down to the earth. In it were all kinds of 4-footed animals of the earth, wild beasts, creeping things, and birds of the air. And a voice came to him, "Rise, Peter, kill and eat." But Peter said, "Not so, Lord, for I have never eaten anything common or unclean." And the voice spoke to him again the 2nd time, "What God has cleansed you must not call common." This was done 3 times, and the object was taken up into heaven again. Okay, so I'll go over that part. So Peter, we see, was praying. That it's the 6th hour, so maybe that was the time. Anyway, they had a routine. I think it was 3 times they prayed. But okay, so, and then here he became hungry and wanted to eat, but it was being made ready. So he must have been really hungry because he fell into a trance. And then he sees this vision. So, okay, before I go on with that, I just want to say, there's a lot of talk about that sort of thing. Like there are people that talk against doing this sort of thing, believe it or not. And then there are people who are for it in a way that's kind of different, Maybe or maybe not, I don't know, but you might have heard the term contemplative prayer. This was a big thing the last decade that came up, either people loved it or they hated it. And, there were discernment ministries that were against it, and there were people who were for it. and all that. And now, all I can say is if something's in the Bible, then I have a news flash for people. It's okay. So now, some people go beyond what's in the Bible in a way that's actually forbidden by the Bible. Like a lot of the stuff about that was kind of a danger. Like they would do the repetitious prayer, which the Bible speaks against that. They would empty their mind in a way that was, I mean, some of this went into the direction of like Eastern religion and that those practices that are, dangerous. So that was a problem, and it's great to warn against that. But then people would take it to this level that you couldn't do anything. And it's like, well, if it's in the Bible, yes, it's a good thing. So, you can pray, you can fast, and you might end up in a state like this and see a vision, have a dream, get some communication, some revelation from God. That's possible. And there's nothing wrong with, meditating in a biblical way where you meditate on the things of God. You connect with God in a spiritual way. That way, all that kind of stuff is in the Bible. This is what happened to Peter right here. So that's all well and good. And they were even complaining about everything. Like, I mean, it goes into direction of people who just want everything to be some rigid religious, feelingless exercise, routine exercise, void of any real feeling and meaning, just robotical, and some rote liturgical